All right, welcome everybody. Today is the 10th of May in Dallas. This is Dallas Personal Robotics Group Robot Builders Night Virtual. We are going to do the usual and just go around the table and mostly talk about robot things tonight. I have a little bit of up share. Yep. So, these two meetings are still out there. Nobody's jumping forward to spark an election, unfortunately. Okay, but this coming Saturday, for those of us in Dallas or willing to visit Dallas, we're going to just have an in-person lunch gathering, kind of ad hoc. It'll be at Babe's Chicken Dinner House in Old Downtown Carrollton. It's only a mile or so from the Dallas Makerspace. So it'll be nice to just catch up in person for once recently. And then for anyone that brings a robot, hopefully some will, we can head on over to the Makerspace and robot around for a little bit. Then Doug has put up drafts for placeholders for two contests, events. So these also would be in person. One is coming up rapidly now in the middle of June, Roborama with the Foursquare contest, more details there. And then the other one tentatively in August. We still have to confirm with the person whose physical space we're planning to use that he's willing to do it. We haven't asked him yet, but in time we will. But that'll be the Outdoor Robo Columbus event. And I'll put these in the meeting notes here briefly. Then we have these other ideas potentially we could do. People have mentioned them, but aside from that, that's all I know. Anyone have anything else that they'd like to throw into the mix for the calendar? Okay.
If you have issues with Outdoor Robo Columbus, I might be able to offer my place as well, but it's more challenging terrain. So,
ooh, excellent.
I'm not sure if that's the right choice for the group.
Okay.
It's a lot more vertical, let's say.
All right. Well, I don't know that I doubt that we'll have challenges unless the host is unavailable that weekend or has some other issue. But thank you. We'll keep that in mind, Kareem.
Sounds good.
And don't be afraid.
Same host as last time. Is that what we're talking about? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we're on video, I don't want to go too far and spill the beans. Okay. So, all right. Well, with that, we have that was about all the update that I have this week. Not much of a chance for me to do robots, unfortunately. But I think we have Pat with a really good sounding update. If the teaser he gave earlier was on par, and then Ted has a question. So let's jump in, then we'll go around the table. Pat, what you got?
Well, in preparation for the spring contest, looking at doing the remote four corners, I got out today into our rec center in town and did a video. So I'm going to share my screen, video, and show you guys the progress. So can everybody see my screen?
Looking good.
It's real exciting. Don't miss anything here.
Don't blink.
So I set up an 8x8 square with the orange traffic cones. And I'm following around the outside.
Is it detecting the cones or just going on straight odometry?
It's going on straight odometry. You have to crawl before you fly.
Sure.
And the rec center, is it easy to get into?
Well, Well, they were looking to charge me, and then I basically said, "Hey, listen, I'm just a hobbyist trying to get a flat spot to do a contest and some." And they said, "Would you be willing to open it up to anybody that wants to drop in?" I said, "Absolutely." So it cost me nothing.
Well done.
Good. I was going to ask, are those 1 foot squares? But you're from Canada, so
Yeah, they're 30.5 centimeters,
yeah,
which is 1 foot.
1 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 12 by 12 tiles.
Nice and smooth and straight. Look at that.
Well, it does a little jerk at the turns, and there is another problem when I tighten my radius. It's affecting the turn in the corners. Sometimes it'll turn the opposite way, which is really strange. I haven't figured it out yet. I've got to dig more into the code to see what's happening.
And what do you call this robot again?
This is the wooden monster.
It's woody.
So those are in place
Can
turns.
connect
Are
with
they?
me?
Sorry.
Connect with me somehow, if you can.
Pardon me?
If you can connect with me somehow.
Connect?
How do I get in touch with you?
Oh, I can put my email in the chat. Carl, can you pull it out after?
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so here is the paper I was writing on. So there is a chart of my performance. So I don't know if you can see my mouse right in the center. On my clockwise rotation was my target.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And in here I have 1 clockwise, 2 clockwise, 3 clockwise, 4 clockwise, 5 clockwise.
Very impressive.
So approximately 3/8 of an inch out each way.
There's some gold stars in somebody's future.
So that was it. So now is the kicker. When we look at all the results, so here was my clockwise target. Here was my counterclockwise target. You notice the circle over here. I didn't do very well. I'm way out. So
There's nothing that's. Is there anything in the rules that say you have to go run both directions?
So that was what I looked at, and fortunate for me, no.
Yeah, you get to choose.
There you go.
So we know that we're going to be doing a clockwise contest. So reading through the UMB mark documentations and what I could find, this is telling me the difference between my counterclockwise and my clockwise, that I have multiple problems. So I have wheel spacing and wheel diameter issues on both.
Huh.
Did you calibrate going clockwise? Calibrate your turns clockwise, that kind of thing?
No. So this is as is essentially. I did the first test and I was out. So I dialed it in on the first test going clockwise, and I ran a couple other tests, and I left it after I changed my values by 1%.
Is your rotation also just purely odometry based?
Yes, it is.
So no gyro.
So no gyro was used in this. It was just all purely odometry. So I'm assuming that from what I'm reading, the errors are compounding to give me decent results on this side. And on the counterclockwise, my errors are showing up. So I'm out by about 9 inches from my target distance. And then I'm out about 1.25 inches off of my center line as well. But overall, I would say at least it was a productive afternoon. I did that today. And it gives me an idea of what's going wrong and what I have to do to try to correct it. So I've been working through. Do I have Where did I dig that out? This guy wrote an article. You might know him, Paul Bouchier.
Oh yeah, might know him.
You might know him. He's been known to frequent the channel. So he's got a really good write-up
What's
on,
the date on that?
I think it was 2009. February 2009.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I found this today, and he's got a good article on what to go.
A good thing to put in the chat, the URL.
Yeah, I can do that. So I think what's happening is that I'm not turning quite, or I'm not turning exactly 90 degrees. Could be more, could be less. I think it's either close to 90, but maybe slightly off. Plus, I might have a curve going on the wheels. So my errors are compounding, but they are adding up in one direction. So I'll go through this and do a little bit of math. I've got the paper I did it on, so I'll transfer it over to Excel and see how that goes.
Yeah, one thing we never mentioned, wheel alignment too. I think you can have just slight misalignments in a wheel, and you can get it to pull in one direction or the other. But we just talk about wheel diameter and spacing, but it could also be just slight misalignment of the wheels too.
Yeah, so it could be, but if it was misalignment of the wheels, I think it would show up in both directions.
I don't know.
I'm not sure
No,
about that.
I'm not sure, but
Is there an extra bonus for taking the longest path to the shortest error?
We should modify the rules to favor Pat. Yes.
Do you actually have to go outside the cones? Is that a requirement?
as far as I know, you had to follow the outside. There were supposed to be 4 cones, and you had to follow the outside of the cones in the contest.
Doesn't say how far outside though, right?
No, you couldn't. Theoretically, you can run. I think it didn't say not hit the cones, as far as I know.
And you don't have to take a straight line path either, right?
Yeah, I guess in a theory you could do a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could do a completely wavy path and a marker at the beginning and the end and use like some sort of optical device to zero in crosshairs on it and get it like, to the nearest millimeter.
Like
Zero in on your mark. Huh?
like drop a cookie, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it says that you cannot put a beacon.
No marker. Okay.
Well, it didn't say marker. It says beacon.
I mean, we always mark the starting location, right, with a piece of tape or something like that, so you can measure what the variation is. So there's something that goes down.
Hmm.
At least when we run it publicly here in Dallas.
But
How about
it
if
might
I
be
put-
just a tiny little graphite pencil mark, right? I mean,
Could be. Yeah.
yeah.
What if I take a black marker and trace it on the floor,
Yeah. Line following.
line following, and then just put a cross where to stop?
You could use the joints of the tiles and not even tell us that you're doing that, and then just there's your marker. It's already built in, right?
Yeah,
You
I
can use
think
an
Well, ultraviolet,
I don't
That's
think I'm going to touch it.
pretty common.
I think Ray's point about the wheels not being
Yeah,
proper aligned,
cantered in
you're
or
gonna
out.
have some slippage.
What?
The wheels are gonna slip. That is, if they're like this, you're gonna have some skidding.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about that because the latest platform that I'm working on, the base is plastic and it flexes a little. So, to keep tension on the chain, I kind of flex the plastic a little, and I don't know that it's going to stay the same. Probably not, So I think
Ray, I'm
that's
disappointed. You're building in plastic. Don't you usually build in steel?
well, aluminum, but the this was, it's Ackley's rule of three. This is my first iteration, so there's lots of things that have popped up that's like, could have done that better.
Has anybody
So,
tried concrete as a building material?
nope.
I've heard of boats
Except for
being made out of
houses,
concrete.
but
Boats, yeah, sure.
Yeah, boats being made out of concrete.
Yeah.
I watched Mythbusters. They built a lead balloon.
Yeah,
Made a Led
tore
Zeppelin.
pretty fast.
Off Lanai in Hawaii, there's a concrete ship that they can't seem to get rid of. It's concrete reinforced with steel, and it's just been sitting out there for decades.
Tremendous progress, gold star, plus some kind of other star for finding a place in your area to run that's robot friendly. That's worth a lot right there.
Yeah, that was a challenge. I talked to quite a few people, and the rec center pulled it off for me. They waived whatever it is, $150 fee and an
Wow.
insurance fee, and they gave me the spot. And I have a spot for the actual contest. It's a different room, but they said, hey, yeah, you can use this spot down here, and so that's great.
And it's reserved. It's not catch as catch can.
Exactly. I have it set for a date. I won't make the June date because I'm going to be on the run going west. But I will forward my video, and you guys can have it for the contest, and hopefully it'll qualify.
Yeah, and you already had an impressive result. What was that? Less than an inch?
3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch out roughly.
Yeah, not bad.
That's about 4 feet better than I can do with my Meccano one.
Well, I was expecting 3 to 6 inches when I first started, and I was out by 4 inches on distance, 3.5, 4 inches. And so I basically did the calculation. I changed my wheel diameters by 1% and redid it, and that's where I ended up.
So Pat, I thought at one point you noticed that your two wheels were different diameters. How did you resolve that?
Well, I do two different calculations.
Oh, you do? Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
I have a left wheel circumference and a right wheel circumference.
Ooh.
So, hey, computers are good. They can tell the difference between left and right.
Yep. I thought maybe shave one off or something. Have one bald tire and one with full tread or something.
You did the software shaving.
Yeah.
I did the software shaving. Yeah, I forget who it was that said, "Hey, you could," because I was using the diameter and it looked to be close with my caliper, and I don't know if it was Ray or somebody said, "Use a string."
Oh yeah, that wasn't me.
So I forget who
Probably
it was.
Mr. Anderson.
I'm not sure.
Did you?
So that I used my wife's sewing tape measure, a little cloth tape measure, and 1/4 inch wide, and it did the trick.
Did you clean the floor?
The
Mop
floor-
it well
the
and
floor-
stuff, or just go with whatever dust was there?
There was very little dust, a little tiny bit of residue like sand on the wheels, but very, very little. And that's what I left. So
In terms of calibrating, I hear all talking about this really literal approach where you measure the diameter of the wheel. So I haven't done this yet to mine, which will look. I can't decide if maybe I'll run this one, maybe not. But I was thinking rather than try and measure that diameter and then have whatever error in my measurement accumulate over however many revolutions. I think when I last did this a few years ago on that thing, I just said to the robot, I cleaned the floor. I said, go straight. And then when it got to the end point, it was certainly off by some amount. So, I, instead of measure, I don't even know what the wheel diameter is precisely. I just know that if I correct the heading by a certain percentage, it goes straight. So I don't care what the distance is. but I would for Foursquare, right? Because we got to go beyond the cone and not too much further. But from a heading point of view, that was my trick to calibrate it. Just
Yeah,
ask it
basically.
to go straight, figure out what it does, and then fudge it.
I told it to go basically 100. I started in the middle of the one leg, so I said go 167.5 centimeters. Take a right and go 335 centimeters, and then take a right and go 335 centimeters. So I just gave it the XY coordinates for each corner, and
Let it rip.
yep, let it rip.
Very good.
Is it illegal? I always look for ways to confound Doug. So is it illegal to put down like electrical tape, train it using line following, and then pull the tape up and just rerun the encoder targets?
Well, it
Doug,
says
if
here.
Fortunately, he's not here to tease.
Doug, if you can make that work, you're welcome. You say it like that would be making it easier, but I don't think it is.
I agree.
Beacons are not allowed. However, the competitor may use alignment aids such as targets run before the run to set the robot's starting angle. All
there you
alignment
go.
aids
So
not
the
mounted
answer
on the
would
robot
be-
must be removed.
I think what Mr. Anderson just said was, I've been there and done that, and yeah, more power to you there, Pat.
At least for this year. He might change it this year, but yeah.
I will say, in reference to the wheel diameter question, that I also don't know the diameter of the wheels on my robot. What I do is I set the robot down, have it drive in a straight line, which you can do manually to keep it going straight, and see how many encoder ticks I get in a fixed distance. So 10 feet or 50 feet or whatever. Count the number of encoder ticks, and then the average, the left and right encoder ticks won't be the same. And so I take the average of those two to get a ticks per inch. And then I take the difference between those two to get a
Heading offset.
correction that's added to one and subtracted from the other. The size is that the robot's actually driving in a curve when it thinks it's driving in a straight line. And so if you drive your Borenstein square to the right and you're curving that way, all your angles will be too small. But when you drive it to the left, all your angles will be too large because it's turning out away from the square in one case and in toward the square in the other case. So the errors are not symmetrical for left and right. So I
Were
think,
you online when I showed my results?
no, I just got here with my dinner.
Can I show you?
Bring it up, Pat.
Flounder.
Flounder.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So on the first run, I set a target. Oops. I set a target, or there's my center target. And I did the run in a clockwise direction. And I have all my marks here.
How long? How far? How big is?
335 centimeters on a side.
Okay.
So just under 11 feet. I think it's like 10'9" or something, or 10.9 feet.
And then here off to the left are your arrival points.
So no, these are the end of the robot. So I couldn't get a mark in the middle of the robot. So I captured both ends. I did that on the
Gotcha.
On the tail end. You can just barely catch it in the picture here, and on the front end of the robot as it was driving. And so that's where my marks ended up. So first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and average is about 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch from my X center mark on the robot.
Okay, let me think about this a second. So this is clockwise, so we're turning to the right.
turning to the right. So we're going towards the left of the screen, and we're turning towards the right when we hit the turn point. And we keep turning right.
Okay, and so which is X and which is Y here?
I believe X is up and down, and Y is left to right. And I don't know why it's that way.
Okay, so you started off from the center position and you proceeded to the left for 11 feet.
For half of that. So for 167.5 centimeters, I go to the left.
Okay, so let me go back to my original question. How big is the square? How long is a side of the square?
335 centimeters.
So why aren't you driving 335 centimeters before you turn right?
Because I started in the middle of one of the legs.
Ah, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay, so I don't know why I did that. I just did that. So I started in the middle of the leg. So I ended up, as I said, about 3/8 by 3/8, which is, I thought, pretty not bad.
Okay, they're all on
That's
this
the way
image,
Canadians boast.
they're all up
Pretty
and to
not
the
bad.
right.
Pardon me?
They're all up. They're all up and to the right of the center point.
Yeah. So this would be, they're a little bit back from the, so a little short of my final distance as I'm coming in to my final distance. So I'm a little bit short of my final distance and all to the right of the robot.
Okay, so what does the counterclockwise look like?
Well, here it is on the left. So that's all my points at the center of the robot. Here is my target.
So it's
Okay.
much shorter and it's to the left.
So this is very instructive. I'm still a little confused about the axes. So in this case, did you start off going toward the right side of the graph?
How about I show you a video?
Well, no, I want to keep looking at this.
Okay.
Did you
Did I-
start? Did you start and go toward the right side of the graph, or did you again go to the left side of the graph but turn left this time?
I turned the robot around 180 degrees and I started towards this direction.
You turned the robot around.
Yeah, so the first time with at the bottom, my clockwise direction, the robot was facing to the left. When I did my other turn, the robot was facing the right.
When it reached 167 centimeters off the screen to the right here somewhere, it then did a left turn.
Yes, a
And
left turn all the way around the square.
and came back, and so it came up short of the target
Yes.
and to the left of it. Okay, just for my own convention, I always start the robot run in the same location, whether I'm going left or right. It probably doesn't really make any difference, but I'm just trying to rotate this around in my head. And I also would always start in one corner. I'm not sure what it might do to the measurement to stop in the middle like that. But the fact that they're real asymmetrical, that suggests that that's a wheel size error. What you'll see is, so if your wheel size error was 0, but your wheel base was off, what you'd see was the error would be symmetrical around the origin. But if the wheel size error is off, it's asymmetrical because it's turning tight one way and loose the other way. So what it looks like here, that that going clockwise is just about on, is not correct, because the real solution is somewhere halfway between that circle and the other circle. That is to say, you need to adjust it so that they're both. You need to adjust the wheel size difference so that they're both symmetrically oriented around the origin. That is, they'll both overshoot the same amount, or they'll both show up short the same amount. But when you look at it, they'll be symmetrical. And then you can mess with the wheel base, which is that the turns are either too tight or too loose, according to the wheel base. But so this is really useful information here.
So when I looked at it, so the bottom lines, when I was coming from right to left in the clockwise direction, they're all fairly straight. So they're all following my center line, basically this one, roughly, per se. But when I look at the one on the counterclockwise direction, they're all coming in at an angle. So that tells me I have problems on both sides. So I wasn't steering quite 90 degrees.
There's actually basically three different sources of error. And if you start off with a robot that was perfectly calibrated, then there's a source of error that's sort of the noise and randomness of the trip. That's why you can't just do this with one run. You need to do at least 5 runs so you can get a feel for where the center of the error is. And that's just kind of noise in the system. Now, having said that, that can also be things like wheels sliding back and forth when you turn right versus turning left. I mean, there can be mechanical things that would also introduce that. But basically, that's a noise that's going to be in every set of measurements. Then the second one is this, the second and third ones are this asymmetrical wheel size error and a symmetrical wheel base error. So the fact that they're coming in from different directions, that error shows up as a heading error. And that's what you're seeing there.
Yeah.
You might, look at your hardware and be sure everything's all robust. And as I said, being tugged in one direction versus the other when it turns one way or the other. But great work, Pat. As I say, be careful about being too proud of that runs that are almost hit the target going one direction and are way off going the other direction.
Well, from the contest, I plan on running in a clockwise direction and not touching anything.
We should modify the contest to require everyone to go both directions.
I think you should, but you should do it for next year.
Yeah, these are not the results that you. This is
Yeah, I've got too much on the go to.
Well, if you look at that, the little note that I wrote a couple of years ago about the Bornstein UMB mark, one of the points I made therein was that there was one of the runs I did. I think the last one I did was like 17 runs or something, and there was one of the runs I did that hit before I calibrated it that hit 0-0 dead center. And if that had been the only run I had done just by luck, I would have said, hey, it's calibrated. So you really do have to run it multiple times and take an average centroid to see how it's really behaving.
I gotta argue with your 0-0 dead center. You're at least off by a couple of atoms either way.
Agree with you. Several thousand.
I'm getting within electron shells, mind you. I mean, so this speaks to me here because Kareem, earlier you were talking about some of the contests that we have with the contest rules at times, and it struck me, it still strikes me that there's kind of like and it's unfortunate we don't have Doug here online right now, but it seems like we have a gentleman's understanding that at least part of the contest needs to be finding new ways to buck the contest rules, and just to give the rule maker
Mess with Doug's mind, yes.
Getting a Google eyes moment going, right?
You guys remember back in the 60s when this high jumper showed up at the Olympics and he went over the bar backwards. And, instead of beating the world record by I don't know, 5 inches or 6 inches or something. But now that's the way they all do it.
Yeah, see, I don't remember back in the 60s that happening, but I saw it in the picture books. That's what I'm just saying.
Harold, is that because your memories of the 60s have faded?
Well, because I was better, I was barely born in
He
'66.
was a spring chicken.
I was only
He was a
glimmering-
zygote at that point, a little.
Knee
Yeah,
high
I
to a
thought there might have
grasshopper.
been drugs.
Knee-high
It was
to
a dirty thought in his dad's mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're digressing too far.
Oh, yeah,
Alrighty.
I could do that to people. You know.
It's good though. It's fun. That's why we're here.
So in the meantime, I have something to show you. I don't know if y'all have already
I'm up
mentioned it or
next.
John,
not.
let's get you in queue, John. But Ted was here a lot earlier, and he's been
Okay.
very, very, very patiently waiting. So Ted, the floor is yours
Yep.
for at
All
least the next hour or two.
I don't think it'll take that long, but I've been using these yellow jacket motors and they're pretty good. But I did every once in a while, I'll get a little jitter in it where it'll suddenly speed up or slow down. And I've never been quite sure if that was the motor, the gearbox, or the wheel encoders. I did, however, take off the cap on the back, and I see the power line runs right past the Hall effect sensor. And so I'm wondering if that's where I get these jitters from, because I'm running a PID loop to control the speed of the motor. So yeah, I was just wondering if anyone had any issues like that, and if that seemed like something that could be the problem. And if so, I'll just move the wires so they're not running past the sensor.
think that's
Did
pretty
you ever scope
unlikely.
the waveform? Did you ever look at the waveform on a scope?
No, I don't have a good way to do that.
Okay, because I would say that, it should show up that way if it's affected by the wires going by.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll see if I can find someone with a scope to test that out.
Ted, can you hold the motor up again, and not just the power wire, but also the encoder wires? Do they all run off? Okay, so they're
They
separated.
plug in here.
There's
The
a Hall effect
encoders are-
sensor on those. It's a
encoders are
spinning
here.
magnet.
This is a magnet.
Yeah, the magnet's in the center.
That's
the
a
shaft.
very standard encoder for those kinds of motors. They're used widely in the FTC robotics community that I coach. It's pretty unlikely that it's caused by that power. You've got to, I'm not quite sure your description of what the surging is like, because are you saying that that's a response to an elevated or decreased encoder count that's suddenly there? The primary failure on those tends to be that the magnet has shifted or is not in the perfectly optimal position on the shaft, such that in some cases it might miss some encoder counts. That tends to be the primary failure. It's the exact same type of encoder that's used on the REV motors as well as some of the Andy marks. So it's a pretty common design, and you might just have a bum encoder if it's happening on one particular motor or something like that. But I don't know that I've heard of a lot of people finding that the problem is specifically about how the power wires are routed.
Okay, well, yeah, that's helpful. The magnet seems solid on there.
Yeah, it's actually usually super glued on, right? And I have seen, it can shift by a millimeter and all of a sudden be wonky, right? I'm
Okay.
talking about along the length of the extra bit of the motor shaft that's sticking out the back of the motor.
Yeah, so in this case, it'd be going in and out
Yeah.
like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
And it can
interesting.
be a very small amount, and then all of a sudden you get wonky readings.
Is the motor shaft tight that way, or does it have a lot of play longitudinally? The motor shaft itself.
Yeah, maybe it's like a 1/4 millimeter, just a little bit of
Very,
play
very
there.
small usually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But if I graph out the encoder counts, I'll see little ticks going up and down, and then it'll go flat. I'm running it at a constant
At a
power
constant
setting,
voltage.
and it'll tick up and down and tick up and down.
Ted, have
Yeah, that's an encoder problem because if you're running at a constant voltage, you shouldn't really be seeing any surges from the. Not really. Yeah,
If it's brushed motors,
they are brushed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
but don't brushed motors make like broadband noise when the contacts hit and spark?
Yep.
They do.
But
Yeah, and that's why partly I
Ted,
think it's
been
a
noise
noise
to make
problem.
extra ticks instead of fewer ticks. And it sounds like, Ted, from your description, that you're having a steady trail of ticks and then you have dropouts.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was more likely to drop ticks. It would go several seconds, nice and flat, and then I'd get these little bumps.
Ted, when you're doing this, are you running your PID controller, or are you just sending a straight voltage to the or PWM value, or however you control your controller?
I've tried it both ways. Mostly I was running the PID controller.
I mean, I think it would. I'm not necessarily convinced from what you described that it's not a software problem. It seems like that the test you might want to run is to remove everything that could possibly be altering the input voltage. Just run it, at a fixed voltage and see if it does that same thing.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
So by dropping out, do you mean you get no ticks in a short interval? Or
no, I'll get less ticks in an interval.
You get fewer ticks. Okay.
So I'm plotting ticks per second, and it'll drop down.
Yeah, and do you
But
notice
it could look like a complete dropout if your time range was short enough.
Yeah, no, my time range wasn't that short. It was, I should have been getting several hundred ticks in that time range, and it was dropping down somewhat significantly. I'd have to look at the numbers again.
So if you want to separate software issues from physical hardware encoder issues, can you separate the thing driving the motor from the thing measuring the encoder? I mean, what happens if you take your encoder reader and put that on its own little microprocessor where the only thing it has to do is to listen to interrupts from the encoders and count ticks?
Yeah, what I'm thinking I'll do is I've been running the software on my RoboClock controller, and what I could do is I could hook up the power to a power supply, and then have the robo software plotting out the encoder ticks. So I could do that.
Be great to eliminate, one part of that. So yeah, like if you're running if you have an external power supply and you can set it at whatever 6 volt, 12 volts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then look at the encoder ticks and see if that's constant, because then that'll isolate,
I guess the reason I suspect the encoder is because running the RoboClock motor controller with its PID loop, I'd have it turning at a constant speed. It'll be chugging along nice and constant. Then it'll suddenly slow down and then speed up again, and you could hear it rev up after it slows down.
Ted, that was the question I was going to ask. When you see these irregularities, do you hear any change in the motor speed?
Yeah, you can hear it slow down and then
again with the PID controller in there, it's hard to know what's cause and effect. But if it does that without a PID controller in there, then it's not just. I mean, then the ticks are telling you what the motor's really doing. It's slowing down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have a constant applied voltage, it shouldn't be doing that, right? It should be
right,
pretty steady.
Yeah, there could be something wrong with the motor or the gearbox.
How often do you send new commands or do queries? Is it?
I was doing this just sending one command and having it run for, a couple minutes just to try and figure out what was going on.
Oh, okay.
I like the hook it up to a bench supply.
Yeah.
And see if it does the same thing.
Yeah.
Ted, if you take your PID loop and you feed your your set point as the return on your input to your PID loop. So the two are always the same. That should keep your output constant. And you can see if that's the cause, if your PID starts basically changing your motor speed.
So you're just saying use a constant set point?
Yeah, whatever your set point is, feed that into your input return, like your feedback. So it'll think that it's running at the right speed.
So still breaking the loop and not looking at the encoders.
Yeah, not looking at the encoders. So
Yeah.
You're running a constant speed. And
But
see
that's
if
the
PID
way to
is
do it with
the
the
problem.
with his claw instead of a bench supply. Same effect.
Yeah.
The RoboClaw.
My guess is that what you can do is just based on past experience, if you were to run it at a constant voltage, however you want to do that, and just graph what the encoder counts look like, and then if it looks like it's running stable, and if the motor's just sitting on a bench, you could probably pick it up. When I see this happen, you can sort of like shake the motor along the length of its axis, and you'll see when you're changing direction, that's when it drops out. And it's probably because that there's just a tiny enough shift in that magnet, and that's probably when it's happening. Are you seeing it when the robot's moving, right, as opposed to
Yeah.
just sitting on a bench?
And that did remind me, I did find that it would happen more often if I like pushed on the wheel while it was sitting on my bench and just kind of tapped the wheel or did something like that. It would tend to happen.
Yep. It's an alignment issue with the magnet, most likely.
Yeah, I bet you're right. Anyways, I'll do some more experiments and report back next week. I have one more question though. If I
Shoot, floor is yours. Another 45 minutes at least.
Yeah, right. Right now just for testing inside during the winter, I took off 2 of the 4 wheels. So it's a 2-wheel platform now with dragging a tail wheel that's not powered. But if I put the other 2 wheels back on and I hook up the left motors in, I guess would be parallel, and the right motors in parallel, would there be any advantage to using 2 motor controllers and driving each motor separately from a motor controller, or is hooking them up parallel? The problem is, I guess if I hook them up parallel, I can only have 1 motor on the PID loop. I was just wondering if there's any advantage one way or the other.
I have an opinion.
Okay.
If you have 4 motors, you ought to have 4 PID loops.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, because each one of those wheels is going to be impacting a different part of the surface and might slip or whatever, and so you need to know what each wheel is doing in order to keep it at a constant velocity. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's only an extra 250, right? Isn't that what another robocall controller costs?
Well, no, I don't need to get a 60 amp motor. These draw at most like 4 or 5 amps each. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree with David. I have 4 motors and I only use 2 encoders, PID loops, and my motors are in parallel. And they behave horribly, but it's okay. Yeah, so it's, as David said, when one of the wheels leaves the ground, especially if it's a non-PID controlled motor, the motor that leaves the ground that isn't PID controlled will tend to speed up.
Yeah.
So you tend to get different speed rates. It does affect everything a little bit, but I use it on my outdoor bot, and so does the grass and sticks and bumps and everything else that it runs into. So I sort of live with it.
I think, Steve, well, let me start over again. If you
Are
want,
they ganged together? That's my question.
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
If the wheels on 2, if you just want to use 2 motors, then the 4 wheels, the 2 wheels on each side need to be ganged together somehow, geared or driven with belts or something like that. and then they're guaranteed to both be turning at exactly the same speed, no matter what surface they're going over. But if they're not physically ganged together, I'd have each one of them control itself.
Okay. Yep, I was just trying to simplify things, but yeah, you make a good argument.
The robot's Kareem bot showed an excellent example of that with the belt drive between the front and back wheel on each side.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like belt drives or chain drives or I've had too many problems with chains and belts coming off. For this one, I just decided to go with a motor for each wheel.
Simple is always good.
Yep.
Well, then I'll agree with David on this one. Even if you're not trying to achieve subatomic accuracy.
With that, I'll yield the floor.
That's like a momentous occasion. We should mark this time somehow. All right. So I think nicely done, Ted. Very good. We look forward to that. So John, what do you got? You're in a different location now.
Are you at the makerspace?
Actually, I'm at the makerspace, yeah, because there was something else I wanted to look/do, and time-wise, it required, yeah, that. So, speaking of that, contests, I don't know if you mentioned or show them, but I did see where Doug did post it. So let me share that. So if you go look, that's out there on the calendar in that makerspace events thing. So there's that. And then the other thing for tonight more is
I love it. Cost is free, but you must cancel before a certain date.
I didn't write the thing, so I just happened to notice it. This is the key. So let's see.
Courteous thing to do.
That, okay, and then let me share
Cancellations with full refund. Maybe that's what
Yeah,
we should.
exactly.
the other thing. So this is the other thing I saw of interest. Constant with PVC bites, and it looks like they basically use a little ping sensor there. So they have, the new those motors, and there's sort of the list. So yeah, all they use is the sensor for it.
Are they using the ping sensor to measure the angle?
Distance. Yeah, it looks like just
By
mainly
proxy
the angle.
from the distance to the ground. So
Right.
weeds are the primary failure mode here.
That's what I was thinking. So I'll
Yeah.
run the video since I haven't run the video, so we'll see how it looks.
This was run on a golf green, right? Yeah. Perfectly smooth.
Where'd the grass go?
Yeah.
Yes. Notice they have it indoors, so yes.
Looks like Colorado grass.
Yeah, boy, I'd be surprised that would respond quick enough. But I guess maybe for shorter distances, it's okay, right?
I don't know if there's.
It looked kind of sluggish, although I can't speak for the playback rate there. Okay.
Okay.
Fun with motors, I guess.
Was he balanced?
No, just playing with them on the ground there.
It's basically showing how to build the thing, it looks like right now. Yeah, he's describing basically how he's building it. I don't know if y'all
That's
hear
got to be
sound or
the
not.
simplest looking platform that I've seen just yet, aside from a
Oh
slab
yeah,
of
it's
wood.
all off the shelf thing.
Please tell me he's going to solder it. Oh, he's not soldering it.
Nah.
It'd be too hard to eat.
Like twisting it together with masking tape or something.
Maybe it's a prototype.
Yeah, he just says rubber, so there's volume.
Dad was a plumber, so he had unlimited resources.
Well, he is using an Arduino at least.
Yeah, but it looks like maybe it's not mounted on the robot.
And he's not really using a 9-volt battery to power motors, is he?
What
Looks like
did he
he's-
say?
I'm smelling something. I'm smelling something here, gents. I'm smelling something.
You can't hide batteries and an Arduino in there anywhere.
Absolutely not.
Maybe the Nano. It does smell a little bit like those YouTube videos from a few years back where they showed put a cell phone under a table and popcorn on top, and the cell phone would pop the popcorn. You remember
Well,
those videos? Those were
And
fun.
in defense, you can see those wires running off to where the Arduino is. They're not mounted.
There we go.
Let's see what he's done for power here.
Oh, that's a distance.
I think he got his left and right backwards.
That's cute though.
Yeah.
No IMU. You know, physical therapy, if you've ever been in there and they have you stand on one foot and then they say, okay, now close your eyes and stand on one foot. That's when you really learn about proprioception and what sensors your body is looking to keep you from falling over.
I agree. Try doing Tai Chi with your eyes closed.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if I could do the field sobriety thing. You know, you close your eyes and you're supposed to touch your nose. I think I could come close, you know, but don't know
That's
if
a
I did
good
it
point.
exactly, you know.
it would be interesting to use a camera-based system for balancing a robot.
But okay, so that leads to the question then, what is the, with this kind of a distance, what's the update rate on this sensor?
So he had a ball bouncing one, it looks like too. I don't know if you want to see the ball bouncing one or this one. So they have that one. And skip that. And dismiss.
So the update rate's not any more than the speed of sound to go a couple feet down and back again.
That's what
Yeah,
I mean.
Might be quick enough.
Is it because, I mean, is it, I haven't measured it. Is it within a few milliseconds? It should be that distance, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,100 feet per second, right? So that's maybe.
Yeah, so a few milliseconds.
About a millisecond.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's still getting fast updates,
Yep.
but probably faster than vision, right? Because someone was saying what happened. Camera might be 30 frames a second.
The real problem is resiliency. That with those kinds of systems, you know, if there's anything that comes up in front of you, changes the height of the floor a little bit,
Yeah.
your robot's going to react
Falls over.
incorrectly. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah, it'd be like
there's
2.7 milliseconds for 1.5 feet, you know.
All right.
So pretty
So, yeah.
fast.
So there's that one, and then he had that other one, which let's see if it pops up again.
So
Out
this
there.
all looks like the same guy, huh?
Yeah, he has 3 of them, and he
That method
basically,
doesn't work with slopes either.
and this one uses the ball to center.
He really likes his ultrasonic sensors, doesn't he?
He
this guy?
does, yeah, because all 3 of them use that design. In this
It's good
case, though, you have
investigation.
a ball.
He's like equivalent to the guy that makes a whole RC car out of old license plates. You know, the little Indian
Right.
kid. You know.
And cardboard.
Well, it made me think about like how much simpler could we get, right? Because you could just use 2 or 3 physical switch contacts on either side of this thing, and when the ball hits one or the other, then
Uh-huh.
kind of like the old RC bang bang, where it just
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, John, looks like fun.
So yeah, I saw the one.
Yeah, that reminds me way back when I tried to make a motor controller using mechanical relays that went bang, bang. And the problem was the motors turning on and off with the relay caused so much noise it kept resetting the microcontroller.
Yep.
Electromagnetic compatibility. Yeah. Always something. Cool.
Yeah, I always like the. Basically, there was a. I don't know what it was used on. It had a. It was like a gearbox, Kest, you know, pot metal gearbox, and it had a fairly large wheel on it with an O-ring. And if you bolted 2 of them together with like some of the make block stuff, it would pretty much balance itself. So you could easily make a self-balancing robot out of it, you know, without any difficulty, because the weight of the motors would, you know, make the thing rotate or hang a certain way. So
That was
easy
like
stuff.
like those Weeble wobbles. But
Right, yeah.
But it's not really the same, because a bouncing robot, when it drives forward, will lean forward, whereas those would lean backwards and then would end up oscillating. So it was real hard to drive. Ted, this was my first robot controller, and you'll see the relays.
Oh yeah, yep.
Ah, and knobs. Got knobs. Even got some op amps in there.
Did you have any problems like I did with noise on that?
Well, no, I didn't, but there's no microprocessor here to reset.
Oh, okay.
It's all analog.
That helps.
I worked hard on that. Can't bear myself to throw it away, even though it's totally useless.
I don't know. It's a good demonstration.
Look, Ray's got the same thing.
Here you go,
For
Dave.
yourself.
Yeah. Couldn't throw it out. So this was I actually used a 1 transistor to, you know, to modulate, but I used the relays to switch polarity. So it didn't generate nearly as much noise as, you know, just relays switching back and forth, because they only change when I change direction. But yeah, that was one. And another one I had, they were 90 volt DC motors. So I was actually trying to use a Triac to do it. And I recently got samples of a better Triac, but haven't done anything with it. Basically, to use to go from 12 volts, use an inverter, which pushes it up to 120 volts, and then either drive, you know, on the positive or the negative half of the sine wave, and be synchronized to it, and just apply parts of the negative half or parts of the positive half to the motors. And that's how those motors are driven anyway, usually with SCRs, you know, but you can do it with just one Triac.
I was going to ask, how did you manage to switch DC with a Triac?
Well, I'd go through, it was through an inverter. Basically, it took 12 volts and generated 120 volts out of it.
So you generated AC and then use the Triac to control your switching.
Yeah, but it's switching and doing that, especially with an inductive load. There are all sorts of weird mechanisms that Triacs have that will actually turn the thing on. Like, you know, if you increase the voltage on the Triac too quickly, it'll turn on. There's another one. oh God, there's a couple, I think like 3 different mechanisms that will turn the thing on when you don't want it to, basically. So now you're applying like, 2 halves of the AC on a DC motor, and it just goes, brrr, and it does it, it kind of randomly, so it's not as easy. There's all kinds of, even with alternistors, which are supposed to be, less sensitive. Well, there's like sensitive Triacs that, the gates don't take much voltage or much current to run. And then there's the alternistors, which take a fair amount of current and voltage to get them to turn on. And those are much better for DC loads. But I've had these 2 90-volt motors forever, and had them working at one point, but it was all analog circuitry. And I wanted to go with processor control over it. So anyway,
Ray, I don't know this term.
Oh, alternistors.
Alternistors.
Yeah, they're basically Triacs that are not as sensitive. I guess there's quite a range, but yeah, there is such thing.
Okay, Google says, did you mean alternators?
Nope.
But
I
then
can
it
put a
says-
link in the chat.
Then it says standard Triacs versus alternistors.
Yep.
Feature set. Okay. So you
Yeah.
didn't just make it up.
No, no leg pulling here going on. So.
Or just put a link to that article in the chat. I
Yeah.
never heard of an alternistor either.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're going in the Wayback Machine, I got something. Okay, so this is something that I did. I think it must have been in the early 70s. I don't know exactly. But basically, this is Theremin. You can tell what kind of connector technology we were using in the day.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of my lifelong projects because it sort of worked, but it never really quite worked as well as I wanted it to. But I know it was in the early 70s because of my age and because it was first published in the 1967 November edition of whatever that was, Popular Electronics.
Carl, I built the same.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
Awesome. But did
Did
you?
yours
It's a
work?
thermal?
You gotta show that solder joints. Yeah.
Isn't
Hey,
that
David,
something
can
though?
you show it to us?
Look at
See what I
that.
can find.
That's some solder joints, right? That was done. That was before the pencil tip. Those were done with a Weller, like
A Weller, yeah.
120
Wow.
watt Weller. And I don't know how we found these parts, but we got kind of close on the parts. And
So it's a theremin, you said?
it's a theremin. It's a proper theremin. So you got one antenna for frequency and one antenna for voltage. And I mean, we didn't have an oscilloscope at the time, and I didn't have a clue anyhow, because I was probably barely 10, if that. And we could make it work with the stereo.
Can you
top
turn
of
it
the
on?
Yeah,
Ooh.
I will turn it on, but I've noticed that you'll notice that some of the wiring was, and I have reels of this stuff now. It was the solid copper wiring from telephone.
Oh God, yeah.
Ah,
I still have some pieces of it.
That was some wonderful hookup wire, and I have a whole bunch. I have a lifetime supply of it, actually, if anybody needs some pieces.
I think I do too. And I couldn't find the theremin, but I did find the synthesizer that I built,
Ooh.
which I.
wow.
Oh,
Wow.
no, that's fancy.
That's massive.
Oh, weighs a ton.
I feel kind of left out. All my old projects were software.
Can you still load them, or does that take like paper tape or something?
Well, thanks to Microsoft, most of them won't work anymore because they wiped out that kind of system.
I'm looking for a 3.5-inch floppy drive so I can get some old files.
I have a 3.5 inch,
Okay.
but I'm looking for a 5 1/4 inch, or maybe the halves and quarters are wrong. But
I think it was 5 1/4, yeah.
I got some text files on a 5 1/8 quarter that I don't want to have to retype a stack of papers this big on if I ever get back to that project.
Well, actually, I have a PC sitting here next to me that I intentionally have for doing 5 1/4 to the 3-inch ones.
Oh wow, we might have to talk. If I
I have a
actually
bunch
want to
of
do that,
5 1/4 that like you, I didn't want to have to put in by hand.
yeah. Someday when we get together, I'll give you a floppy and you can put it on a thumb drive for me.
Okay.
About the text files.
Well, actually, the machine I have doesn't have the
Oh, the actual discs.
no. It'll take the disc and it'll put it onto the other disc, but the thumb drive. So I'd have to
Oh,
put it into my other machine
Mm,
that I have.
You have
so
to
we
have bridge
computer geeks or
machines
what?
to go
Who
from
wants to
one to
claim they've
the
got
other.
the most computers?
Takes 4 computers to get it in a modern format.
Well, I could do it with 2, but that's all right.
Carl, do you have this? Is that upside down?
It's just out of focus. American, what?
Musical
Engineer's Handbook.
Musical Engineer's Handbook.
Oh no.
No, I don't have that one.
I did not have that either. Look at that.
Yeah.
Op amps, response curves. Oh my word.
Oh.
David, you gotta say something. So it hold that up again and say something when you describe what it is when you hold it up the camera.
This is Bernie Hutchins, a musical engineering handbook, written in 1970 something. Let me see if there's a 75. And if you want to know how to temperature transconductive op amps, Bernie's your man.
Actually, I don't have the equivalent of that, but it's all the Burr Brown books when they were making, like, using discrete transistors to make operational amplifiers, and it was in a brick this big.
I think I have some of those.
Oh yeah.
That was
Yeah,
my
they're great
job at
references.
JPL, was doing discrete transistor op amps
Who?
at JPL.
Oh yeah. I think.
I was at Caltech there, and I got my BS in physics, and I was working at JPL as a technician. And I went back after getting my BS, and now instead of being a technician, I was now an engineer because I had that piece of paper, and so I had a technician working for me. And they said, "Well, we need you to design this amplifier." And I said, holding it like this, that looks like an op amp to me. And so I opened up the JPL phone book and I said, now, which group is it that would be doing op amps? And at that point in time, the flight computers were all analog. And so it had the phone number there for the flight computers. And I called them up and I said, I got something here that looks like it's an op amp design. Do you have an expert there? And I said, oh yeah, Bob here's our expert. So I called up Bob and I took my requirements to him, and he says, yeah, that looks like about a 6-stage. And he pulled out a designs of his drawer and he says, okay, now here's a 5-stage and here's a 7-stage, and you cut the 5-stage here, and you put this into this part of the 6-stage, and then here's how you tune up the loop on it. And in a week I had that thing up and running and my boss was pleased as punch. I said, yeah, but Bob did this. He didn't care. I got the job done. And that taught me, hey, look for the expert, sit at his feet, and he'll tell you how to do it.
I will say that op amps are, in my experience, wonderful things. And if you deal with analog voltages at all, almost anything you need to do can be done with an op amp.
Solves a lot of problems.
It's a neat idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. drift with temperature and nonlinearity with amplitude, and it's all kinds of weird things it'll solve.
Okay, so we've been going around the table quite a bit here. Who else has some other
Have we run down?
Have we run down early? We ran out of robot-y things, I think.
Well, the only robot-y thing I had, I was hoping Chris would be around because it was for him. I was looking at these Roombas, as y'all know, and it turns out the new one you can't hack into the way Chris is hacking into the old one. They are deliberately making that impossible for some reason. So just an FYI.
So,
So are you talking about the Discovery when you say that, or
Their
vacuum
Create
cleaner?
version is an educational version. It's
Right.
designed to be programmed. The actual Roomba 7, which is their new one, is designed to be not hacked into. It used to be they were easy to hack into, but
Oh,
now
yeah,
you
when they used to even had a port for you to
Right.
plug in.
Doug,
They-
did you see
I
that
had one of those.
that post I put on the list about that Moorebot robot?
yeah, that thing looked pretty cool.
actually
just
I've been kind of lazy about looking at the list lately. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's like $180 or something. It's got 4 Mecanum wheels and it's got motors and ARM processor and IMU.
Cool.
And I think it was set up for Ross.
Hmm.
Wow.
And it
you're
just,
I'll dig back on those because I have them all.
if you're
stored on
looking
my
for
computer.
a pre-built platform, it looked pretty cool. And I thought for $180, maybe
That
worth
cheaper than the Create.
Yeah, I'm mad at whoever showed that 3018 CNC machine last time, because I rolled into Micro Center not minding my own business, and for some reason that thing jumped in the cart and it came home with me.
Is that right?
I think that was
You
Doug.
you just can't be careful about that stuff.
It
I
was
don't know how that happened.
So David, what was that robot called?
Moorebot, Moore bot, I think.
I'll put a link in the Slack here.
If you look at the couple of days ago, I think Murray replied that he'd been on the Kickstarter for that and that he had his. I can put in a link. Or Carl, are you doing that?
Yeah, I just put a link in. Yeah.
What's Murray up to? Didn't he go off to Japan for a while?
Murray's wife is having some real health issues, and she's
Oh.
in Japan because, like many civilized industrial countries, they take care of their population.
Don't get me started.
Not like in America where they don't care.
Yeah. What do they say? This one says 199. The other one I saw said 179.
So Mecanum wheels and HD microphone. It does all this from a single 18650.
Not for long.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They've got a little video down here, I think. Very little.
You were kidding.
1 minute 46.
Well, if it won't play it, it does about what you'd expect it to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you create a dress shoe?
Okay. Fibonacci shoe. Yeah, we'll leave the video to the viewer's discretion.
Yep.
You know, the thing I liked about the iRobot Create 3 is it had its built-in little charging station to pull up to, because charging is not my forte. Electrical engineering, I can almost say it and halfway spell it.
Well, Doug, I have an opinion about that if you'd like to hear it.
I always like to hear your opinions.
Like I do about most things about it. Well, I thought a lot about a charging station early on in my robot adventures. But as time went by, I found out that I really didn't need it. I had this idea in my mind of this robot that would live in my house and go around and recharge itself. But in point of fact, over the years, that's not what I ended up doing. What I do with my robots is I play with them. And I take them out and play with them. And maybe if I played with them for a long time, it might be 4 hours. And then I take them back home when I'm not playing with them. I put them on the charger. So it really never has, as a practical matter, been a concern. So say before I knew what I was doing, I had this idea of this robot who would be alive in the house and would charge itself and wander around and do things on its own. Just like I imagined the outdoor robot going off out of my field of view and doing things, which it has done a few times, but for the most part, that's not fun. I want to be with it and see what it. So I'm always with it when it runs around. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Well, I have to admit that that's kind of what I'm after too. I want a robot running around the house, being as smart as my dog and interacting. We'll see.
Being as smart as your dog without the accidents. Right?
Yeah, being as smart as my dog's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, I found as soon as you turn your back on a robot, something bad happens. So,
Bad robot.
Just like a dog.
yep.
Yeah, hopefully this week I'll be able to do more on my little new platform. Kind of excited, get it on the ground, see what it does, but not quite there yet.
On another side topic, I'm not going to be able to make the Saturday thing. I've got overcommitted. I wish I could be there.
Oh no. Well, how many on the call will be able to make it?
What is this?
Oh, this coming Saturday.
Is this the luncheon?
Yeah. Just a gathering at Babes, and then maybe follow up at Makerspace if anybody brings something to robot around.
What time is it? 1?
11:30. We'll gather there, and then we'll ask to seat at 11:45, just to try and beat the crowds.
If I leave now, I might make it.
Yep.
Well,
If you show up, I'll screw my other commitment.
absolutely.
I was going to be up at Denton in the morning, so I don't know if I can get back that early based on that thought. I was anticipating more like 1, but
Okay, so it looks like me and Steve so far then.
unless you want to do later.
Another day.
Yeah, I've got an employee event with Improving.
Okay.
And what's funny is it's actually close to me. It's over in Bishop Arts, so I don't have to drive over, wherever to go hang out. And they're going to a place. They got us a reservation at a place called Cidercade. And basically, what it does is they for cost, and then for like $10, they have a bunch of arcade games that are set on free play. And so we'll play, 80s vintage arcade games all afternoon and drink cider. And it sounds like, Babes is always a great time, but I'm thinking, yeah.
No. It's not Cidercade.
No, it's not Cidercade.
So, Carl, can you move it to 1 o'clock?
I mean, if it's a small number of people, it'll be easier to get seating.
Yeah, you kind of prearranged that though, right?
Well, there's no reservations, so I just put it out there on the Evite. But I mean, it'll be 3 of us at the moment if that's it. So I'll send an update, and if there's not too
Okay,
many,
if you can change the time frame to 1, send a note, and I will respond back.
Okay. All right.
They'll eat and talk slow. How's that?
Okay. Well, you
All
could
Right, you know.
eat
Carl,
all afternoon.
I have a
but-
question.
What's that?
I've got OBS on actually this machine and my machine at work, although my machine at work is undergoing some transformations. And I've been playing with it a little bit. But the whole reason I'm interested in it was because I want to be able to show videos during these meetings without them being choppy. And you managed to accomplish that, I believe, just by setting your output stream to a lower resolution. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that not
No.
true?
I managed to do it via some other tricks.
Okay, well, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to contact you sometime offline,
Okay.
and then if we could set up a chat session where I could play around with this and you could tell me what I'm doing wrong?
That would be fine. You can call or text anytime, and the next week would be good. I'm actually on travel next week after Wednesday or so, but so yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep.
I would suggest that OBS is not a great way to show pre-recorded video on Meet. It's more for compositing and sharing your screen and stuff like that. And,
Oh no, just a minute.
well, I'm just saying you can do it fine by just playing your video in a browser window and casting just the one tab.
But I found that doesn't
Say that
work.
again, Kareem. I was distracted.
If you can play the video in real time, well, then especially with like YouTube videos, then the best way that I found is to open it up in a separate tab in the same browser that you're connected to the meeting with on your computer, if you're connected that way, and then just sharing that one tab.
Well, that's something I could, in theory, do right now, correct?
You can do that right
Yeah.
now. That's right.
Yep.
All right. Let me try
Yes.
it.
But when I've done that, Kareem, it doesn't work very well. It bounces all over the place. It just doesn't work.
Choppy.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. It's,
Yeah,
and
David,
for me.
whereas, like right now, you'll notice that this video that is now my camera is pretty smooth. Right? It's not choppy. It might be lowish resolution, but
Well, if you've changed the resolution down, that'll definitely do it.
no, I haven't changed it. Well, the OBS, I don't know what have it set to output, but it's not jumping between frames at all, right?
Correct.
seems pretty smooth.
Whereas if I play that same video as a browser tab, it in the way that it scrapes it and feeds it into Meet on these things, it doesn't work very well.
But is that through OBS, Carl, or?
Yeah, that's through OBS. So
Oh, okay.
basically what I've done is this can get a little meta. Let's see how this works.
So Kareem, you were suggesting David do it without OBS, right? Just open up a browser window and show YouTube video and share.
Yeah, standard standard browser tab share from Chrome.
Yep.
I'm talking specifically if he's using Chrome browser.
Okay.
So here's that same video, but now I'm presenting my desktop. So it's basically Meet has to screen scrape my desktop to present this. And if it looks to me like it's going to come across rather choppy.
Yep.
But what you see
I'm
down here,
specifically not saying show your desktop. Show only a single browser tab.
yeah, okay, you're critically saying that. I understand. So,
Okay, I've got a tab with a video in it. Now what?
okay, David, you're up.
What do I do?
Show it.
Present now.
Present now. Okay. Entire screen or a window?
No.
No.
Window.
A window.
Present a window or a tab for best audio and video. I see. Okay.
Yeah, just a tab, not a window, not the full screen.
Okay. I don't. Nobody is offering me that option. I'm using Firefox.
That would be it. Sorry.
That's the end of the story.
That's the end of the story. Yeah.
Well,
Guy use Chrome.
try presenting the whole thing anyway. Let's see what it looks like.
But if you present, that'll be screen scrape.
Yeah, that's probably not going to work.
So
when you're in Chrome and you're using a single browser tab, it knows where the source is coming from, and it doesn't actually go back and forth on the presenter screen. Everybody else gets a copy of it directly from the cloud.
Are you seeing
That's what
anything now?
We are, and it's jumping.
We are seeing it.
And it's jerky.
It's jerky.
It's missing frames.
But Kareem, does Chrome have the player built in? Can you drag and drop a video into Chrome?
Drag and
You see what I'm saying?
oh, you mean like playing from your local machine?
Well, yeah. So because you said present like
Right. I was
present
thinking
the
of
tab.
cloud sources, like YouTube videos or things like
YouTube
that.
video. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just able to drag a video that I showed earlier into a Chrome tab.
Try it.
Yeah, it should show it. But then it still requires your browser to push all that information up. But it should still be pretty. It should still be pretty smooth, I think.
Well, I can
But
try
it's
playing
all
it.
bandwidth dependent.
So I'm going to present my screen. Let me see if I can present a tab. Just presenting that one tab.
We have a visual.
Oops.
It
It's
looks
pretty
nice and smooth. Yeah, it's very smooth.
Well, it's so slow. You can't tell if it's jittery.
It's down at the
Still
atomic level.
moving.
So you dragged your video into the tab. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I just opened a new tab and I dropped my video into that tab on Chrome.
Oh, my goodness.
It looks smooth to me.
So it's the first time I try that.
It's pretty good.
What a fantastic finding.
Okay, what if I do this? What if I take my camera and
Oh no, pointed at your screen.
if you guys will pin my screen?
Okay.
Is this because you don't want to download Chrome?
Let's see.
It's very jittery. You need to hold camera steady.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, that's true.
That works.
Kind of like watching a bootleg video.
It doesn't seem as jittery though.
Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
it still skips a little bit, not that much.
It's
Yeah, the
smooth.
biggest problem is that the camera is not steady.
Yeah, that's the biggest jitter is from David.
I charge extra for that.
Don't
Less
drink coffee
coffee.
before.
Only one cup, max.
Do you have a tripod?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
that's definitely a feature, not a bug.
Let's see. What if I clip it to my shirt? Does that work?
I'm unpinning so I won't throw up.
And overboard.
Yeah, it's fairly steady.
All right. Well, I can solve that problem. So that seems like the way to do it. Actually, is to point my camera at the screen and let it do the encoding.
So you're going to do the air gap transcoding. Okay.
Yeah, I want to get in on this fun and try a tab here.
You thought we were going to hang up.
Let's see. Oh, I have to press play for it to work.
No, Ted, that's pretty jerky.
That's jerky. Interesting. All right. Now, how do I stop? Okay. So that was, I did the tab, but it's still jerky. Interesting.
Yeah, I found before I make this video, I'm real proud of how the robot, slowed down graciously and came to a perfect stop. And I show the video and it's just chunk, chunk.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, sure, Dave. Just buzz any time if you want to try the other way.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Let's see what else. Raj, welcome back. Did you have a chance to visit the Bex contest, Raj?
Yes, I was there for the finals of high school.
Yeah.
There was a lot of energy in the room. It was good.
Good time?
Yeah.
Were you jealous? Did you want to compete?
Not big fan of Legos and Vex. They kind of constrain you to just that platform. Kind of level the playing ground, but also constrain you to those platforms. So I never liked them very much. And all the competitions in India didn't allow us to use Vex or Legos at the time of competition because they were super expensive. And most of the robots for the competition we would build would cost $20-30. Cool. So I was just going through the competitions that was released last week, I think.
Yeah.
The 6 scans, 4 corners, and simple retrieve. Wondering what kind of navigation is expected for 4 corners. Are we supposed to do some kind of slam to figure out how we come back to the same position? What's kind of expected out of this competition is kind of where I'm going with this question.
I'm using odometry.
Go ahead, Pat.
So I'm using odometry, and I'm having mixed results. Competition, I have really good, fairly good clockwise results. Counterclockwise are not so good, but it's just straight odometry for now that I'm using.
So I think, Raj, if you there, and we that the there's a certain pride in,
Carl?
say what?
Can you zoom in a little on that?
Yeah. There's like a certain pride in how the rules are written, but there's another kind of unspoken gentleman's pride in that we take in trying to do everything we can to get around the rules, just to get around them. So there's an argument that says there's nothing in here that prohibits slam, and if you want to do it, then all more power to you. But probably in practice, most people will just go with a simple approach.
Not going to use slam. Nope.
So we were talking about earlier, someone suggested invisible ink, like with IR, UV light and stuff, and making special marks that, stuff like that.
How do we detect the cones? Are these going to be cones or markers? It was not very clear.
Or do you have to detect them? So
I'm using odometry and I'm not detecting them.
Okay.
They're just there to mark the 8x8 square pattern, and basically the robot goes straight, turns right, goes straight, turns right, goes straight.
Oh, okay. So we can place the robot at the start of the event and not the judges who are going to place the robot.
You can place it where you want to start it and which way you want to go, left or right, or like clockwise or counterclockwise.
Got it. Okay, this makes it more simple. So, yeah, I was
referee will
place
the
robot.
The referee will probably place a bit of tape on the floor to mark an area of your robot that is directly above, and use that as reference point for measuring.
For measuring how close you're getting to it.
And in the past, you've been able to bring your own corner markers. Like I know that my sons at one point used milk cartons, and that's what their robots were used to. So that they let them change them out for the cones.
So was he actually detecting the position of the milk cartons?
Yeah, he was using sonar.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, if a piece of blue tape is taped on the floor and you've got a camera on your robot, I think you could use that pretty accurately to realign it.
I'm waiting to see if somebody does a big circle around all the markers and ends up back where the beginning is.
I
Yeah,
think you're
but
not
initial
technically
positioning might
allowed
be a
to
little
put your
tough.
robot on a string connected to the center point of the circle.
There you go. There you go.
Goes up to a little over.
There's nothing that prohibits it, but you'd have to do it in such a way as it wouldn't get caught up by the cones, right?
Well,
There's
the
no
robot has to be
penalty for sweeping
self-contained.
the cones away.
Well, so let's see. So does it actually say that you have to go around those? Does it actually have to say you have to go around the cones?
It does, and the string would probably be counted as part of the robot.
Oh,
So,
man.
you know. But a boy can dream.
I saw Raj scheming there a minute ago. Yeah, he's thinking. All right, guys. What else you got tonight?
You know you've done your job when Doug admits he has to do a rewrite of the rules. So
Okay,
That's
real
my
goal.
primary aim in life.
I did get my Pocket Pro meter in, yay! But I've already blown a fuse, and I got the other one. I'm gonna do an unboxing tomorrow night on and show it off to the thing, that kind of stuff. So it showed up, and it did work for a little bit until I tried to measure one too many things with the wrong switch. I think I had over here on the side.
So what is this? A voltmeter or something?
It's all a voltmeter, oscilloscope, basically
In a current probe.
a current probe. Oh, by the way, the current probe on this, it's a 10 amp current probe, but you get to use it for like 15 seconds every 15 minutes. The duty cycle in this thing is pretty small. To overheat it. But
Wait, is that the thing you've been talking about for 2 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And it finally showed up, dang it. And I blew a fuse like in the first 20 minutes of using it because I did the wrong thing because I was seeing all the things I could measure.
Just like Christmas morning, broke already.
Yeah, broke already.
But it does show you that you can blow the thing up just by having the switch in the wrong position, which doesn't seem like a good design.
Well, because what it does is like most other meters, it's got a voltage, it's got a continuity, and it's got the 10 amp max on it. And I was unsure where I should have this when I was trying to get a sine wave off a socket, like in an AC socket, because I measured the voltage just a little bit of it before that, and I'm not sure. I don't think I had this in the right place to go do that measurement and have it show up. And of course, it went through the wrong way and snapped. I heard it. I put it in there, heard this click, and I'm like, "Oh, that can't be good. That just can't be good." And I did pop the fuse. I don't like how the fuses are, because the way they got to pop them out, it requires at least 2 different kinds of screwdrivers to get them out. But you shouldn't be changing that off anyway if you're not doing stupid things. So I've been sitting here looking, and it's given me an opportunity to. Mauser has these ceramic fuses. They're 600 volt at half a milliamp, and they have the fuses. And if I'm going to go all the way down, I'm going to work from home because I've got some stuff coming in for work. I believe there's stuff coming in for work. Going to be delivered to the house. I made work from home and go pick up a couple of fuses, so I got something to show tomorrow night. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to buy some parts for the robot and some other stuff. So I'm going to take this opportunity to spend more money than I was supposed to spend, and I wasn't supposed to be spending any at all. So that never happened again. So before again.
That's okay. Any of you guys seen the video that a guy does of the cheap Harbor Freight multimeters, and he actually measures 10 amps through the measuring current, 10 amps through it, and it pretty much melts the probe wire. Probe wires are way too skinny to handle 10 amps. So.
Yeah, but it has a nice feel. It feels really good, and if I don't blow it all to hell, I think it's going to be a good addition, especially for the
throw in the box and have a multimeter and an oscilloscope wherever you go to check things. I think it's going to do really well.
So,
And,
Carl, did you get yours? Did you order one?
Yeah. I just haven't had time to play with them much. But I'm with you, Harold. I blew a fuse on my old one, and it was when I realized that it might look a lot different, and it might have a touch screen on your phone as the control, but in essence, it's the same problem that you have with these. Because if you put these in current mode and you put them across a battery to measure voltage, something's
going to give.
Gonna
It's
pop.
going to give. And at least the thing is that, like, I don't know about you, but I've been using something like this for so many years.
Yes.
I mean, even when I had the dial at first, and those, I mean, they were more expensive and painful to repair. I've been a lot more careful, but there's something about you replace this with what you held up, and it's just a different shapes. Your brain isn't wired.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, there's something weird. This is something completely different than this. So they can't possibly work the same and have the same problems, right?
Yeah, so your brain is not thinking that, oh, I better be careful that this is in voltage mode when I put it across the battery.
Yeah. So I will tell you that I got the accessory pack that came along with this. Hey, they do have one cool feature here. Let's see, can I do that? Maybe I can show you right here. This is part of the standard kit that comes with it. I'm like, what the hell is this? So it fits right on that, and if you'll see if I can make it see, it's a clip.
Yep, probe tip.
It's a probe kit, and it's got one for the front and one for the ground wire that's coming off of this thing. So, and that comes standard. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And because when we ordered them, we all got a bunch of accessories, and some of those accessories are banana plug adapters and alligator clip adapters and that kind of stuff. But I mean, they do really feel nice. It just, it's I had a brain. Should I do this? Well, let's try. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Experience is what you get just after you need it, and then how that works.
Harold, I have another question. The other function that I found irreplaceable on this fluke meter is the fact that if I walk off and forget about it, it turns itself off. So I'm not always coming back to a meter with a dead battery. So does that little gadget do the same thing?
It does do that. There's also supposed to be some data logging mode with these things where it can log stuff. I'm not sure how to set that up or to set the timer or whatever that is. This is Bluetooth. It will turn itself off automatically if you're not using it for a while, and especially if it's not connected anywhere off the Bluetooth on it.
Very necessary.
Yeah, and there's a USB-C charging port on the side. Oh, wait a minute, wrong camera. USB-C charging port on the side, and that makes it really cool for just charging it up and that kind of thing. And you're supposed to be able to hook one of these things up, let it record a bunch of stuff, and then come here and download the data off of it. So if you want to do that, so I mean, we'll play with all that stuff and see if I don't blow it up again.
So Harold, what colors did you get? You got red?
I've got orange, and I've got.
I got yellow and red.
Yellow.
You got orange and yellow. I got red and yellow.
Orange and yellow. Yeah.
All right. And we'll have to be careful when we try to put it into oscilloscope mode.
When we get together at some point, we're going to put all four of these together. You're supposed to be able to put four of these into a single phone and have it do fun things with it. Yeah.
Turn the four probes into a 4-channel oscilloscope on the same screen.
Right. A nibble. Yeah.
Harold, I think I see a fluke meter right there in front of you.
Looks like it. Yeah.
I recognize it's yellow and grayness.
Oh, this right here? This is not a fluke. This is the knockoff version.
Knockoff fluke.
I'm a big fan of Tenma. I'm a big fan of Tenma and their stuff that's got going on. Just because I've got a soldering iron prime over here. I've got this on here, and they do more than I usually am able to do. And for $60 or so, that's a heck of a meter. you know, or at least when I got it, it's about $60 anyway.
I've had this Fluke for years, and it's just been my friend for so long that I don't even think about it. But I did come up with what I thought would be a great advertising campaign or logo for Fluke test meters, which somehow the company was not interested in, but I still think is good. And it's as follows: remember, if it works, it's a fluke.
There you go.
They weren't interested. I don't understand why.
I have no idea. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, there's the analogy to that. I worked with a guy. Name was Nelson Frederick Gillespie, NFG. So we had to basically we had a little stamp with our initials on it to, say that boards were checked, and his was NFG. Or no, NSG. Sorry, not even saying it. So, everybody.
I also came up with one for Microsoft that they were similarly not interested in, but I still think is a great logo. Microsoft, solving today's problems with yesterday's technology tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Somehow my whole aspirations as an advertising mogul have collapsed.
Never materialized.
Well, that's just. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, you got them all. What was it? There was I think it was Dustin Hoffman and Daryl Hannah back in the day had a bunch of special needs folks that became advertising executives, and they had a bunch of, they were pitching their things, and they're like, it was before AT&T got broke up, and they were showing AT&T with a phone there and stuff, and goes, we're AT&T. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have any damn phones. So give us a break.
I always thought it was, we're AT&T. We don't care. We don't have to.
Up here, we got Air Canada. Air Canada's motto is, we're not happy unless you're not happy.
Oh, what was the other one? Metamucil. It helps you go to the bathroom so you don't get cancer and die. So it had a whole bunch of things like that. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. I'm sure I'm not doing the stuff justice. I'm pretty sure about that. But anyway, I think I've got a Mauser trip we'll call tomorrow. And I need a $3 fuse, and I'm going to spend probably more than that. But
one way in gas.
You're going to spend $12 in gas for a $4 fuse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I'm not going to work. If I'm thinking right, I think I'm going to work from home tomorrow, just because at work I'm starting a new engagement, and they were asking if we wanted to be sent a laptop or do we want to work on our own and stuff. And because one person's got one of the new M1 Macs, and this is all the Visual Studio project and C# and that kind of stuff, and sometimes the M1 Macs haven't been playing so well in the Visual Studio world. I mean, they're coming on, it's pretty good, but we're like, okay, screw it, send us all laptops and this kind of thing. It turned out to be a good thing. Well, a monitor showed up today, and I suspect the laptop will show up maybe tomorrow, depending on when they order these things. And it's a good thing too, because I was reading through the stuff that I had to sign on the checks and stuff. And at the very bottom of one of these things that I had to agree to go forward, it says, we reserve the right to take control of whatever machine you're working on, basically, and then wipe it remotely if we decide to. And I'm like, yeah, let's use your laptop. Don't be using mine. Or I usually put mine on a VM so that you can wipe the VM and you're good with it. I don't care what you do. But I'm like, yeah, we didn't that. That's not good. So, all right, you want to have that right? It's a laptop.
See you, Pat.
Yeah. Wipe it all you want.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, there's a strong argument for going back to where there was like a clear line between home and work. You know, even if you're going to work from home, let's have that clear line, because bring your own device, it gets blurry like that, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, but that's the way improving works right now. In fact, improving gives us, we call it EPP, Employee Purchase Program. And we can only buy a laptop, but we have to buy a 2-year warranty because it's a 2-year payout. They will give us up to $3,000. Anything we spend over that, we eat ourselves. They will give us up to $3,000 and immediately pay us back the entire $3,000 for that. But then we owe them $1,500. They split it with us, so they'll give us $1,500 and an advance on another $1,500. We paid that second $1,500 back over 2 years, each paycheck. You know, it's like $20, $30. Don't really miss it, that kind of stuff. And the reason they do it is they want us to be able to have decent equipment to work on instead of, you know, a 5-year-old, 10-year-old laptop showing up and that kind of stuff. And so they're trying to get it upped to from 3,000 to a higher number, just because, well, stuff costs more now than when they did this so many years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever spent $3,000 on a laptop.
Oh, I routinely do that.
It's nice.
The next laptop I'm going to get, though, I'm looking. Have you guys seen the framework laptops?
Yeah.
Linus Tech Tip has, in fact, he liked them so much after he reviewed them, he went and put $250,000 investing in them. And in fact, he was on his YouTube channel saying, "Hey, I'm investing in these people. So when you see this, I'm going to be as good as I can be as far as this kind of stuff goes. But you know, I'm going to be biased because I'm investing." So what it is, it's kind of a DIY laptop where you have modules that you plug in. So if you need 3 USB-A, a USB-C, and some other kind of thing, or 2 HDMIs, you can do that. You can slide them in and out as you want. You can put up to 64 gigs of memory into things and a few terabytes of hard drive using those M0, M2 sticks, whatever they are. Oh, somebody pulled it up. Fantastic. And you can go through there and pick and choose what you want on your laptop, and they all send it to you in boxes. They've got some pre-done ones that you can just order. But if you want all these different modules and you want to swap out the modules as you go, they made it so that, oh, I've got a new graphic card or graphic chip or new CPU, and I want to upgrade that. Well, you pop it apart, pop in a new CPU thing, and away you go. That's where they're designing these things. I'm thinking the next time that I go do an EPP purchase, that's the laptop I'm going to, or something very similar to that. I've got another year before I can upgrade again. Because I am not real. This Dell laptop I'm playing on at work right now is okay, but there's just something funky going on where weird things happen at weird times, and I don't know what it is. And I was hoping that I was a big fan of Dell XPS's back in the day. I got away from them, and this is great because it's nice, thin, nice screen, touch screen, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, I'm just not all that satisfied with it. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It dies at weird times, but it always comes back. But it always has so far, anyways. I'm just not happy with some of the weirdnesses that have happened. I mean, they're just more annoyances than real problems. So I'm like, okay, we'll be doing something different next time I get a chance to do that.
Someone once told me that the MacBooks have everything soldered because then nothing breaks, nothing. I mean, if it breaks, it's expensive to repair because it's all soldered, or you change the motherboard, but it's more reliable. And so I don't know what your take on the framework is. It's a cool idea, but I think the unreliability will come.
You figure carrying around in your knapsack and doing all the stuff it'll jiggle all those things. It might. I've got a friend of mine that has one, and he'll have had it over a year and a half time I go buy one. So I want to ask him and see how he likes it and see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real good friend. I'm sure he will not pull any punches when it comes to stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, connectors and switches are the least reliable circuit element.
Cool. Okay, guys, how are we doing? We've lost a few. Are there any other topics we should touch on? Cool devices we just can't part without. We have to go buy. I'm going to move that we all close this meeting and come back again at least next Tuesday and then maybe Saturday. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, and yeah, on Saturday, Carl, yeah, call me if you can do it later.
I'll put a note out because I mean, at this point, I think it's either on or it's off. And if, well,
Yeah, I've got to find out whether I can do it or
Coming
not.
Saturday or the one after?
this coming up on the 14th, just 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah, because if we start changing around the time, right, then
Right.
there's no hard.
Well, that's okay. I'm just saying, you know, if you can do it at 1, hey, it works for me. If in the morning, not as feasible, just because of the nature of the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 o'clock on Saturday would be our normal meeting, and you're saying we're going to meet it at
11:30.
Yeah, I just picked 11:30 because the Babes is a good location for the makerspace, but they don't take reservations.
Right.
And if you get there like noon or 1, then it's starting to be peak time. So
you're saying 11:30?
that's why I was.
Yeah. I will try for it.
Oh, okay.
My
So I do
problem
try for
is
11:30
I'll
then.
be up at
No
10.
money back guaranteed.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah,
why I
I've gotta
was
get
saying 1
with my
o'clock would
wife
be
to find
better,
out.
but it's just the nature of the thing.
Ray, is 1 better for you?
It doesn't really matter for
Doesn't
me.
matter.
Nope.
And Dave, is one better for you? Doesn't matter.
Fine.
Okay.
So 11:30 is fine, 1's fine, whatever.
Okay.
Well, okay, I'll give you the reason why. In my
No,
case,
you don't
I'm
need a reason.
gonna-
I'll just send a note out to Steve because he's the only one who's
Okay.
admitted.
Right. Well, the reason is that
So,
I'm doing the
okay,
Brad
what's
Smith
the time now?
in the morning, so that's why
I
I
think
said.
majority rules. So if 1 is a
Okay.
better time, then I'll send a note out. So
Okay.
okay,
I'm easy.
okay, guys. All right. Anything else then for tonight?
Nope.
All right. Well, I bid you a good evening, and we'll see some of you Saturday, some next Tuesday.
Yep.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Right.